Hey, what's up? It's Jonathan Mathis, the sports judge. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for the support. The NFL playoffs are set. The Detroit Lions win the division. I picked the Minnesota Vikings, but as we saw last night, Minnesota couldn't get it done. Sam Darnold missed a couple of easy ones. You saw last night too many missed opportunities. You can't get in the red zone that many times and come up empty. I think Sam Darnold was overexcited and never really settled in. And, the Vikings have played well all year. What we saw from them, look, here's a team that won 14 games this season. I don't think anybody had the Vikings winning more than 8 games this year. So, in a sense, you can say the Vikings overachieved and that the Lions were simply the better team in the NFC North. But in a game of this magnitude with a lot at stake and you get in the red zone as many times as they did, you have to capitalize. And they didn't and lost the game. The opportunities were there. But when the opportunities presented themselves, the Vikings would come up short in the red zone. And it was just that the Vikings didn't put up the fight I thought they would. Number 1 seed on the line, banged up Lions defense, and Minnesota still couldn't even score a touchdown. They didn't play well against the Detroit Lions and lost. I have to say, though, I'm really impressed by the Lions defense. It was a stunning performance from a depleted Lions defensive unit. Credit to Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, who had an all-time perfect game plan. And for the defense to be in the state that it's in, a banged-up, horrible, and injured defense, they kept the Vikings out of the end zone for much of the night, all night, in fact. What we saw from the Vikings, honestly, was a team that didn't look like themselves. You had a quarterback who looked over anxious. If you asked Sam Darnold to make big plays, he's done that pretty much all year. This was not the Sam Darnold we saw all season, not throwing to wide open first reads, missed 2 touchdowns to Jordan Addison, Melling, easy throws he's made a dozen times this year, hospital balls over the middle to Hawkinson. And yes, there was the questionable holding call on Alex Anzalone, which led to Darnold being sacked and punting the ball away. Their red zone struggles kind of killed any chance they had to get back in the game and make it a ball game. These red zone woes, I noticed this last night with Sam Darnold, that he's scared to get sacked. When he gets over the fear of getting sacked, Sam Darnold won't struggle the way he did versus the Lions last night. There was the one play in the red zone where Jefferson was wide open on the crosser. That throw was catchable, and you would expect your superstar wide receiver to make that catch, but it was a bit difficult and too high. There was another play in the red zone where Darnold looks at a wide open Addison in the flat for what should probably be a throw to the pylon, turns it down, and then throws an incomplete pass to Jefferson. There's the other play where Jefferson is wide open off a double move, but Darnold throws it too far. That should have been an easy touchdown, easy as 1, 2, 3. The Vikings come away with nothing. I think back to the one play also where Darnold looks as if he's going to find an open Addison, but he doesn't throw in his direction. So he ends up scrambling, and as a result, Darnold throws an incomplete pass. I noticed he had a defensive lineman basically in his lap on those throws there, and he just kind of panicked in a sense and made some uncharacteristic throws. I'm looking at him in that game, and it's like he was never really able to get into a rhythm or settle in. It was his worst game by the numbers. I think he missed a lot of his throws because he wasn't really able to step into them. I think a lot of the reason his throws were high is because of that. He wasn't really able to step into them. They got after Sam Darnold the most he's been hit all year. Somebody was in his face. Detroit's defense got super physical with Jefferson and Addison. And honestly, I thought the Vikings were fortunate at one point to be within reach. At one point, they were lucky to be down only 4. They've made some critical mistakes, bad missed throws from Darnold, not running the ball enough, and a botched kick. Special teams and the offense was not even close to good enough last night. Detroit gave the Vikings a short field a few times, and Minnesota couldn't score. On to next week, but I don't know if that's a good sign going into next week's matchup versus the Rams. Their inability to score touchdowns in the red zone in the first half is the reason the Lions blew it open and were crowned division champs and earned the number 1 seed. I felt like the Lions really needed a convincing win like that one. Detroit is going to get a much needed bye week. And the reality is this: it's scary to think they will only get better with players getting healthier. It's not a team I would want to see, that's for sure. They got plenty of boost from their backups on defense last night. I mean, that was pretty impressive to come out there with 14 or 15 defenders on injured reserve and come out there against an explosive Vikings offense and dominate them for 4 quarters. Red zone defense was outstanding from the Detroit Lions with what they put into that team, with the culture they've built, with the masterful and creative play calls from Ben Johnson, and the way those players approach every game. The Vikings weren't able to beat them. And the fact of the matter, and to me, the Detroit defense was more physical and simply did its job to get a much-needed win, to get a week off, make sure their injured bodies are well rested and ready for the playoffs. It felt like a playoff game. It really had a playoff feel to it. Anzalone was a madman out there. I thought he was huge on that opening defensive drive and kind of set the tone on the defense. That man is a dog, an absolute beast. And to see him play with a banged up forearm shows how much this game meant to him. When I watched that game, I saw a guy playing his tail off, getting after it, blitzing, and just knowing what to do. First game since breaking his forearm on November 17th, and came back and played 64 of 65 snaps last night, registered a team-high 7 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, 1 pass defense, and was awarded 1 of 3 game balls for his efforts. What a hell of a game back, and his presence was felt. And Gibbs, for somebody who can show out, he certainly showed out on Sunday night. All he does is run, and run. And on the back of Gibbs' 4 touchdown performance, the Lions dominated Minnesota down the stretch to win the North and secure the number 1 seed. Argue with yourself, but we may be looking at the best running back in the NFL outside of Saquon Barkley. When I made my statement about nobody wants to see the Detroit Lions, I stand by that. And I'm not the person that's going to say the Vikings aren't going to make noise in the playoffs. But if Sam Darnold has the same mental errors he had last night and they can't get in the red zone, then I don't see them doing much of anything. And, for Sam Darnold, it was the biggest game of his career. For the first time in his career, he finally played in a big game that had meaning. I'm going to say this: both the Vikings and the Lions are in good shape and are well positioned to make a playoff run. Somebody last night had to lose, unfortunately. Somebody last night had to win. And the better team was the Detroit Lions. And it showed for the entirety of the game. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate the love and support. Thank you guys for spending your morning or your afternoon, wherever you are. If you're on the East Coast, thank you for spending your afternoon with me. Thanks for spending your morning with me. If you're here on the West Coast, I'm here on the West Coast. As you guys know, I'm in Southern California. Nice day out here today. I'm excited about next week and the wild card round. It should be some great competition in the NFL. And I'm looking forward to it. And that game last night really felt like a playoff game. I felt like it kick-started everything that's coming up next week. And it's just going to be one hell of a playoffs. And I'm super excited. The Super Bowl's coming up. I'll be there this year. There'll be a lot happening. So it's a lot of great things coming. But, guys, I'm out of here now. You guys take care. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. We'll talk again very soon. Have a good day, everyone.